Hey guys, in this video we're going to be taking a look at the little known Brazilian Revolutionaries Rifle, a rifle with a surprising amount of history behind it. So before I get into the rifle specifics, I'm going to talk a little bit about Brazilian history and the reason why the gun was ordered. So the rifle was ordered for the 1932 Paulista Rebellion. It's also called the Brazilian Civil War or like the Constitutionalist Rebellion. The reason why the rebellion happened was because at the time there was the two most powerful states in Brazil, which was Minas Gerais and São Paulo. Apologize if I mispronounced those. But there are these two competing states. And around 1932, São Paulo was really sort of on the losing side of this competition between the two states. Minas Gerais sort of controlled the federal government and had a lot of control over São Paulo's politics. And so the people really didn't like that. They didn't like, they sort of viewed themselves as being a very, very wealthy state that had to pull a lot of the weight of the poor parts of the country. And they started becoming very independently minded, and they had a lot of problems with the Brazilian government and the Brazilian president at the time. So they revolted. And what really sparked the revolt was a bunch of students. They stormed this political compound of their opposition, and 4 of these students died. And that was sort of like, you could say that's sort of like the Brazilian Boston Massacre in a way. And the revolution was named, the revolution organization was named after the first letter of those 4 students that died, so it's MMDC. And the rebellion officially kicked off around July 9th. Now the problem was that São Paulo, they had a small sort of military presence. It was mostly military police and stuff like that in the state that was loyal to São Paulo. But they had quite a large amount of volunteers because the people were pretty much behind this revolution, and they had tens of thousands of volunteers, but they didn't have arms for these volunteers. They didn't have enough guns for these volunteers. So they placed an order of 15,000 of these from Czechoslovakia. These guns are otherwise pretty much the standard VZ24 export model, with the big exception that this has a turn-down knob that I'll show in detail a little bit later. But they desperately needed guns, and as far as I can tell, they ordered 15,000, and all 15,000 of them made it there, which is kind of incredible because this was a pretty short-lived rebellion. So they started the rebellion early July, and by early October, they were already in peace talks. So as you could tell, the rebellion didn't quite work out from them. The more numerous and better equipped Brazilian army was able to invade São Paulo. They shelled the cities. They had a blockade of the state, so they went into peace talks and they eventually gave up. So it didn't quite go very well. So all of these guns ended up in Brazilian military control. So the rifle's chambered in the Brazilian standard 7mm Mauser cartridge, which is an outstanding cartridge. So the rifle weighs 8 pounds 5 ounces, which is not too bad. To put that in context, my laminated stock K98K, the BYF 41, it weighs right at 9 pounds, and the K98AZ here, this gun weighs 7 pounds 15 ounces. So really, the Revolutionary Rifle is a bit on the light side for a full-size Mauser rifle. It handles quite nicely. I like the bolt manipulation on it. It seems like overall a really nice rifle. So although this rifle wasn't an official rifle of Brazil, it went on to sort of influence the designs of future Brazilian rifles. And you see basically exactly the same gun called the 0834, and it has the same stock inlay turn down bolt style. It's in 30-06 though instead of the 7mm. But this gun apparently fared pretty well against the Brazilian military, at least enough for them to consider adopting what's pretty much an identical copy of this gun. Now let's take a close-up of the rifle to show you more of these features in detail. From the top we have the K98AZ, the Revolutionary Rifle, and the K98K. We can see that all 3 rifles have stock inlays. These just help you get your hand underneath a turn-down bolt. Now I will say that of the 3 rifles, the Revolutionaries Rifle seems to let me get most of my hand underneath it. The K98AZ does a good bit, but the K98K not a whole lot. So I think this is a pretty good design. The angle seems to be about in between the K98K and the K98AZ. Overall, it's a very nice design. You can see that the Revolutionary rifle here has sort of a traditional stock disc instead of the takedown discs of the German rifles. You can see that the attachment points on the gun's different as well. The Brazilian rifle just having a sling swivel here. So one of the defining features of the Revolutionary rifle is this cut and knurled bolt handle here. So it's cut flat, so your hand can reach under it easily, and then it's knurled. It's got a knurled texture to help you grip it. This is very similar, of course, to the K98AZ bolt, which is cut and knurled on the underside of it. On the receiver ring here, we just have the standard markings for the Brno factory. You can see on the side rail here the VZ24 marking, just for the model designation. We can see here the serial number 490, so that's just pretty straightforward. That's the 490th one made out of the 15,000 batch. They also put the rifle serial number here on the back of the stock. Now, I can't confirm this with 100% certainty, but I believe that these are Brazilian government inventory markings done to the gun, possibly Brazilian police or something like that. These guns, of course, were captured and put into inventory, and they were probably used. This gun doesn't look like it was used very harshly, and in fact, I wouldn't be surprised if this just sort of sat in an arsenal somewhere until it was imported into the United States. So with only 15,000 of these being made and an unknown number of them being imported into the United States, I can't tell you how common these are or how easy it is to come across. I will tell you the 0834s are a little bit more common in the United States, and you'll be able to tell the difference because the 0834s, they have the Brazilian crest on it, whereas the Revolutionary rifle, it just has the standard VZ24 markings on it. One of the things I really like about Milsurps like this is in collecting them, they really push us out of our norm, and they'll maybe make us study parts of history that we normally would have no need or desire to go study. And I hope that these videos sort of do that for you, or maybe it'll ignite some sort of passion for history, or you know, maybe learning other languages or other cultures and stuff like that. I think that's one big thing that's often overlooked when buying and collecting military surplus. Now, I'll end the video with a joke. Guess how much all 15,000 of these rifles cost when they ordered them? $1 Brazilian. Thanks for watching. That's terrible.